Psalm 84:10. For a day in your courts is better than 1,000 elsewhere. I would rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than dwell in the tents of wickedness. We all know the song, better is one day in your courts, and or maybe most of us do. And so I was thinking about that, and I was kind of wondering if I would really choose that, like what is it that this verse is saying that we're agreeing to? What is it that we truly agreeing to? For one day in your courts is better than 1,000 elsewhere. 1,000. That's a little bit shorter than 3 years. Probably like 2.5. I don't know exactly. I'm not going to do the math. Let's just say, for easiness sake, that it's 3 years. Would you truly give up 3 years of your life? Doesn't even have to be in a certain place. I mean, just think about it. Just 3 years of life. Let's say you're going to live 68 years. 68 years, right? But you choose one day, you've had this choice to spend either one whole day in God's presence or give up 3 years of your life. Or maybe it's not even like you die early, but what if for the years of your life you're a vegetable or you're in a coma and you do awaken, but you just missed 3 years because one day you spent in God's presence? Honestly, think about it. I'm not asking for responses, but think about it. Would you give up those 3 years for anything you've ever experienced before? I have experienced some pretty amazing things with God, but I don't know if I would trade 3 years of my life for those evenings, for those worshipful days. I know I wouldn't give up any of them for 3 extra years. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't. And it's not like I'd give up my faith for 3 extra years, but I just mean actually just spending a day in His presence. And then, the second half of that verse, and I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than dwell in the tents of wickedness. And when it's read that way, tents of wickedness, of course, when we think of wicked, we think of horrible, evil things. And so, of course, we choose that, being on the outskirts of God's holy temple is definitely better than dwelling with wicked people. But how many of your friends would be considered the wicked people? I mean, we hate thinking of it that way because they're our friends, but I know I have friends that their tents would be considered tents of wickedness. In God's eyes, even some of my tents, the times I've lived and how I've lived, would be considered wickedness. So it's not necessarily would I rather live as a servant scrubbing his floors than in a place of honor in a murderer's house. But would I rather scrub God's floors or live in a place of honor at a friend's house who don't give glory to God? I don't really know my answers right now. I know what I'd like them to be, but I don't know. One thing I do know, though, is that for all the nights and craziness and amazingness that God's shown to me, there's probably only one night I can think of, and it wasn't even at church, that I could think of that I would give up for 3 years of my life to have another one of those. And because of that one night, I know that so many of these other amazing experiences means that's not truly the presence of God. It might be a taste of it. And it is so good. It is so good. But there's more, and there's more than just receiving things from his hands. There's so much more. A lot of these services, the reason why they're so good is because how they make me feel at the end of it. Because of God's revealed some word, or his worship was amazing, as in we loved the music, and we felt this awesome heaviness that just made us feel high. But what if that's not truly the temple or the house or the courts of God that this is talking about? What if it's more? What if we just keep getting so distracted by this, his hands and what he gives us, that we forget about his face? And that one night I can think of, I remember not his face per se. I couldn't draw it for you. I painted it once, but it was a shadowy painting. But that night, he didn't give me anything besides his love. And part of it, what was so wonderful about it, is that I was able to give what I desired in my heart of hearts to give him. And it was all in a dream. But that dream, I would give up 3 years for. To have it again, to know it again, to dance with him again. And it gives me hope. It reminds me that these awesome times where I experience his hand is not him. I mean, it's not him, but it's not fully him. In miracles and signs and in healing and wonders and casting out of demons and all that is amazing, but there's just of being able to sit in his presence and to love him. That's amazing. And I think this is what Psalm 84:10 is talking about. For a day in your courts is better than 1,000 elsewhere. I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than dwell in tents of wickedness. Because why I'm doing this is because I'm asking you, are you at a place where you know that if you were truly offered, would you give up 3 years of your life? Would you give up staying at your friend's house in honor and in total, like, they bless you constantly, like, they give you things? You know, like, would you give up 1,000 days at the casino? Would you give up 1,000 days at the movie theaters watching whatever movie you want to? Not that any of that's fully wrong, but it can be a part of wickedness. So, what would you do? I'm still questioning myself. And I guess that's part of the reason why I want to make you question too. Because I'd rather not be alone in this. Hope I made you think, at least a little bit. And may God bless you with even just an hour that you know if you had 24 hours like that, you would definitely give up more than 1,000 days. I pray that for you, and I pray that for me too.